My name is Terry Linch. I'm with Oregon Ufology. I found myself searching for a passageway one day. And that passageway leads right across the complete section of the Cascades, which I'm sitting in front of at the moment. On top of one peak. I want to make sure that everybody sees the type of things that we find in the process of research for ufology. I have located a couple that's sitting here on the top of Lima Peak. She's facing south. He's facing north.
The Middle, Cascadia Guides, a Ledesma production, in conjunction with Alien Strand Films.
Hi, this is ASDP ufologist Jody Brown from Arizona, and you are watching Alien Strand Podcast with host Donald Ledesma.
AlienStrand.com, the official website.
On my Area 51 line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military. I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharged.
I started getting...
Well, this was certainly interesting. We are now on a backup system, everybody. backup system. And that one caller that I had on the air, I guess we were about in the middle of his transmission, his telephone call, which was one of the strangest ones I've ever had. And the entire transmitting system by satellite went down here, and we were notified we were off the air. And it would appear to be from this end and some sort of massive transmit failure. So we are now using a backup system to be on the air. And not that I would normally believe this kind of thing, mind you, but I can't help but wonder if somebody zapped us in some way. We'll find out. East of the...
Now that I got your attention, welcome to today's Alien Strand podcast. So that was very hard to listen to sometimes because I've played it back on my shows a couple of times, on my older shows. And it's just one of those things that when you're listening to the sound of his voice, that he's got a lot of fear because of something that he knows or something that happened, that to him, that, the information that he had was very important, and he had to get it out to Art Bell from Coast to Coast. So, thank you guys for watching today. I wanted to introduce that to you guys on today's show because it's going to have a lot to do with what's going on today, of what we're going to talk about with Terry and myself. But before we get going, thank you for watching the Alien Strand podcast here, ASTP. We're on 26, 27 platforms. We are all over the world already. Believe it or not, we're in, 12 countries, something like that, or all over the world, maybe more. Our downloads are just getting bigger and bigger because everybody's starting to pay attention to Alien Strand podcast and everything that's happening, because we are disclosure, we're citizen ufologists giving disclosure of what's going on out there in the world today. Now, you can catch us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can even ask Alexa and she'll play you some Alien Strand podcast. So get ready. Today's going to be an amazing show. We have a lot to talk about. Don't forget, we do have this new thing. It's called, for us, it's new. It's called Patreon. So we already have one episode on Patreon already. We're going to get another one out today, tomorrow. We will have another one out during the week. And this is for VIPs, for people that want to be a part of our Patreon. Go check that out. Remember, everything that we talk about on any of our podcasts, when you go to the information on the podcast, even if it's on the video, you'll see all the links to everything because I post all the links to everything. So you can just click the link and it'll take you right to all these pages or even any of the pages that I talk about today. So don't forget, catch, tonight's podcast with Mr. Terry Linch. We're going to be talking about the Lear Test, all right? And if you don't know what that is, we're going to explain it to you in a little bit. So that way, it has a lot to do with Art Bell, has a lot to do with John Lear and the things that he talked about and the information that he's going to give tonight, that he gave, because he's passed on, but he gave some information that gives you something to think about, man. And that's what we're going to talk about today, all right? Of course, we're going to talk about other UFOs and everything like that. Don't forget, catch our movie, The Middle, the documentary. We have it on Amazon Prime, $2.99. Go check that out. That's without commercials. Give us a thumbs up. Watch it on Tubi TV. Hey, free. What can you ask for? Tubi TV, just make sure to give us a big old thumbs up. Got to get in front of the camera here. Here you go. So go check that out. We really appreciate you guys. Even Terry gives it a big thumbs up. He just says, man, he thanks everyone for watching the film because it has a lot to do with what happened with him up there in Paulina Peak. It's very important to watch that. Now, before you watch The Middle Part 2, because it's not out yet, it's still in production. I am in editing. We're getting all that together. So all these people are going to be on this film. They're going to be telling their amazing stories and disclosure because that's what it is. We had Mr. Richard Bowman last few days ago, and he gave his disclosure. He might not have been too much on words, but because he was kind of nervous about talking about it, but he was able to get the story out, right? And this is what he wanted to do. And I hope you guys heard that podcast. You can actually find it on audio as well. There's just so much to talk about today, when you want to be a part of ufology, right? Because you are learning ufologists and we're teaching ufologists every day. We always get new people, man, every day. Of course, Mr. Richard Bowman decided to join us on ASTP. So he's part of the ASTP, and we just have another fellow on there. I'll grab his name here shortly, but you just joined as well. So we're starting to spread everywhere. Remember, if you want to be a part of Alien Strand Podcast, Alien Strand Disclosure Project, there it is right there. You can find us anywhere on Facebook. Just look for ASDP or Alien Strand Disclosure Project. Remember, this is a private group. If you decide to, if you want to be a part of this group, remember, answer all the questions. Because if you don't, you're going to get declined automatically. That's what we do here, okay? We want to make sure that you're in it, and your heart's in it, and your head's in it, all right? So, and that's what it's about, you know. This is what we do with Alien Strand, you know, and everything that we're trying to do. You know, the Ryan says it was intense, what we just heard a little while ago, you know. Jody says, good evening. You know, it's one of those things, you know, everybody's starting to jump on board because they want to hear everything about disclosure, right? Because that's what it is about. It's about disclosure. And today we're going to be talking about things that happened this week in ufology. And we're going to show a couple of UFO videos. We're going to talk about some recent UFO sightings. So we got that as well. And let's go ahead and just bring in Mr. Terry Linch. He's the other part of this UAP weekly. This is our third one, so he's a part of it. Let's go ahead and bring him on in now.
Hello and greetings from the middle, Central Oregon.
Right on, brother. Thank you for being with us today. You know, you are a co-host, part of this show, you know, because we work together as a team. You know, there is no I in team. It's team with everyone, especially with the ASDP ufologists, everybody involved in making all this happen for each other, you know, and for everyone and for disclosure. So, you know, what did you think about that opening monologue there on what happened with the...
Well, the first time I heard that was back when it was actually being broadcast for the first time. I was kind of skeptic when I first started listening to Art Bell for the first time, and I started listening more. I started listening to him more. There was several times where that was how I went to sleep at night, because he'd do a 3-hour show every night. And then after he was done doing the show, he would just rerun the tape, and then bam, he had another 3 hours of the same show on the same station. So he became pretty locked in to a person who didn't have cable television at the time. As a matter of fact, not many people really did have cable in my neighborhood back then, when Art Bell was really just kind of starting out. But that in particular time, I was already hooked, and I found myself listening to him every night as I went to bed. Then a few times when I was out driving, I probably shouldn't have been.
Right.
That'll scare the crap out of you in the middle of the night on the road.
It does. You know, I remember, I was a truck driver for 16 years, and even before then, I was always driving all the time. I remember, you know, always going like Houston, San Antonio, or even out of state. You know, I was 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm driving these big old trucks, you know, and I'm listening to Coast, you know what I mean? And listening to Art Bell and different shows, not just his, but it was different shows. But his was the one that stuck out the most to me, you know, and I couldn't wait to grab it again the next evening, you know, when I was going back out. I always had my radio locked in, the AM station locked into that station, just to listen to it because it was so interesting, right? And that really grabbed my attention. But yeah, that phone call really freaked me out there, you know, when I first heard it the first time.
I'd call him the godfather of ufology at this point. He brought everything pretty much to the top, right to the surface. Most of the people that we know about today that are like the leading ufologists or leading anything to do with this field, at one point or another, they were either on his show or they were going to be on his show, and unfortunately, him and John Lear passed the same year. They're both very missed, and I have to say, John Lear, he was one of those guys that he had more answers than people wanted to hear. Yeah, he hung out with people like Bob Lazar. He was actually with Bob Lazar at S4 on the backside when they got stopped by the sheriff out there, right? And they confiscated all their camera gear, right? But he's one of those guys that, you know, he's flown. I don't know. Well, actually, I don't know how many different types of jets. His family is the Lear jet family, and
He was a test pilot, you know?
Yeah, he was. And we're going to get into his part of the show later in the show, towards the middle end. But, you know, and you know, this guy knew everything. Just, I mean, when you put Bob Lazar's story, his story together, and you're like thinking, wow, you know, and then when you listen to this 8.5 minutes of Lear talking, he's going to make you think and make you wonder. We're going to play that tonight because I want you guys to hear it before you guys chime in. But let's go ahead and talk about UAP Weekly and what happened this week. This week, you know, I ended up posting up this couple of photos that somebody caught in Ohio of this. It almost looks like a craft falling down out of the sky, but I think it was something that was coming down slow, and it was just kind of making this. There's not a video, so I didn't get any kind of video from it, but all I know that it was posted from Ohio a few days ago, actually. So this is what they caught out of the sky.
Wow. I'd also like to add that we have a new ASDP member in Ohio. I have to get to the list of names, but I will let you know that we just took somebody on from Ohio as a new ASDP researcher and somebody that you can contact if you're in this local area.
That's Sue Harrison. Sue Harrison,
that's correct. I
Yeah.
think I'm supposed to interview her myself.
Yeah, well, mine too. But she's good people. We got her in anyway, and you know she's her heart's in the right place, and she's experienced a lot of different stuff that's happened to her as well. You know, I wanted to show this photo because it's kind of strange. Even if it was something that was just weird happening in the clouds, it seems to have some kind of a solid object at the very bottom there on the right. When you look at the picture on the right, something looks solid on there.
You can clearly see the craft itself on the very bottom end. You notice how it's tipped upright, very similar to the craft that went over Polana Peak.
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice a trend here with that in particular thing. It's almost like they're trying to signal to people to let them know we're here.
Right. That's true. You know, and I shared this on Alien Strand Disclosure Project first because I wanted everybody with the ASDP members to try to jump in and try to get it on there, you know, and just analyze it as much as they could. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I threw it out there because, you know, I figured that it's an important thing that somebody caught on their camera, right? And it might have been a cell phone by the way it kind of looks.
Oh, that's another thing. I don't want anybody to think that they have to, just because I'm starting to notice a trend. We've got some people that have joined our group, and they're all buying these really cool cameras that I wish I had. And I started with a cell phone, and you guys are starting with a P950 or a P900 or a P1000. But all I can say is I'm really grateful that you're paying attention to that thing. However, don't put your family out. If all you have is a cell phone, start with a cell phone. You don't have to put your family in the broke house to go out and get yourself a piece of equipment that you're definitely going to have. There's going to be a learning curve here on these things. You got to remember, it takes a while to learn how to use these cameras correctly. And you've already pretty much got your cell phone figured out. So what I'm saying is if you know how to use a Nikon or you know how to use a Canon or a Sony, by all means, do it. If you've already got it, by all means, use it. But if you've got a Samsung phone or you got an Apple phone or whatever, go with what you have. Disclosure literally starts with your story, okay? It's how you do it. It doesn't matter what kind of equipment you've got. Do it with what you got. Work your way up into the better equipment, especially if you're getting good results with your phone. Okay. However, if you want to go out and buy the P1000 and try this out, by all means. I'm not going to say don't. That's exactly the top line. The Sony is a top line. I think Sony's only an 800 millimeter, but it's a crystal clear 800 millimeter. The P1000 is a 3000 millimeter, but it's got a little bit smaller processor, so you're going to get fuzzy. You know, out there in the distance, you're not going to be able to quite focus in like that really cool Sony processor. But I'm going to say this because I always say it. You know what I'm about to say, don't you?
I sure do. Go ahead.
I am Nikon. Okay, Nikon. Did you hear me? I am Nikon. We got to keep that going, Mister. I love my Nikons.
All right, so we're gonna have we have this other photo, and this one came out of Portugal. Okay, so this was I believe sometime this month as well, maybe a few days apart from this other craft. So let's go ahead and check that picture out. Let's check this out.
Oh yeah, I saw this earlier. Yeah,
Now look at that.
That's beautiful.
Freaking diamond shape, man. Look at that.
How fast you think that thing is?
Well, how big? how big is it? That's the thing. How
Right.
big is this thing? You know what I mean? I want to bring this up a little
Thing
closer.
separates the. Well, I'll bet you that thing moving through our. Let's do this like a pilot would say. I'll bet you that separates the vapor. And
Yep.
That thing will turn into just a little. That looks like it's threading a needle. You know, you're going to run through things, not see that at full speed. And I'm curious, is the first picture there being another one that's upright again?
No, it's the same. It's actually the same craft. It's actually, and I guess it was first spotted in the first standing up position. Then it went into the tilt to where it's horizontal. Mm-hmm. And then it shot up straight as it looks like it's going to the left, up to the left. So as you can tell, this is not CGI because the blur effect is in there. You can almost see the electronic magnetic field around the center photo.
It's called an EMF, electronic magnetic basket, flux basket.
Right.
Is what that is.
Right. Exactly. And that's, I mean, just to catch this. And look, it's not nighttime. It's daytime. People are catching this during the day.
I do my best UFO captures during the daytime. That's
right.
when I catch mine.
Yeah, and if you can, if you grab a photo, even a still, okay, just like these are just stills. I don't know if there's a video out there. There might be, man. I don't know, but I just grabbed the stills from it because I wanted people to see this because I knew it was authentic. If you do grab a still, use your apps, even your regular, your cell phone on your camera, you can adjust your photos, adjust the contrast on them, bring the colors to different, and zoom in the photo before you start working on it. So that way you can really see if there's anything around it. You can catch an electronic magnetic field on it, use Pixlr, use that V2 art, use that, man. That's a really good one. I know that, Anibal uses that all the time. So, any kind of video software, photo software, that you can use to try to enhance photos, I do recommend it 100% to try to see if it is real or not real. Most of the times you're going to get the different kind of, how do you say, the spectrums, right? These different spectrums out of it, like night vision. They have all kinds of different ones that you can use. So this is a learning curve for people that are just starting in ufology. Try using these apps, that's going to help, bring these photos out. And I didn't do it on this because, it's just, I wanted you to see the original photos, the original colors, and what came out of this person's cell phone. Now, this shape right here, I mean, it is totally, it looks sharp. I mean, it looks sharp. You know what I mean? I don't know. I have seen crafts that look like this. There was some that were caught next to a jet. What was it, about 6 months ago? It got real popular, and it kind of looked. I had this diamond shape, but it looked a little more grayish. This one actually looks like a dark black, maybe like a shadow.
All right. There's another thing. This is just my opinion. Okay, it's not this. Nothing here is written in stone, but what I'm going to say is stone. A lot of this, to me, the darker stuff, looks like there's a possibility that a lot of these crafts are made out of like a basalt or obsidian or even granite. Right. If you go down to Ecuador or New Zealand, a few other places, they got these great big spheres that are all over the place. Now, again, this is just my opinion. I believe that those spheres are spent spheres that have been going across our skies for numbers and numbers of years, and they depleted and they dropped down into this area. Keep in mind, this is where the Mayans were. This is where I'm going to call them the Maori. I don't want to do. There's two kinds of Maori. One was a headhunter, and the other one was not. But they would drop into these areas where the Maori were. That's like Australia. That's New Guinea. That's New Zealand. And all those micro, what do they call them? Micronesia islands. That's where you'll find this type of people, and you'll also find these spheres. Most of this is closer to the equator because I think of the rotation. These things utilize the rotation, go opposite of rotation, so they would be able to pick up speed. And they probably were using these things probably the same way they're doing it today, using them as like a drone to kind of see what's going on down the ground. Right. Again, this is just my theory. A lot of people, like in the South America or Central America, not South America, Central America region, would say that these things were for like people of clout. It was something that was made from the people for people of clout. And you got to also keep in mind that let's see, what they call those big heads. You know what I'm talking about? The you're right there.
Yeah, man, I know. I need to take some more of those smart pills.
Exactly. Yeah. But we'll come up with it at some point here, and we'll let you know what they're called. They're an ancient culture that passed through, and you find these heads all the way around the world, right at the equator. This is, I mean, all in Africa, in Mexico, and
David Nash says Olmec.
I love David Nash.
Yeah, I know, me too.
That guy. First off, David Nash knows how to ask good questions, and David Nash seems to have the damn answers when we are at a loss. So
that's right.
That's another thing. Thank you, David Nash, man. You again. I think I told you early in the day you're the man on this stuff.
That's right. So let's talk about something a little different, okay? Because I saw this pop up, and we never talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, things like that, you know. But I'm going to bring this up because I love Bigfoot. I love Sasquatch, right? I love to talk about that too, that part of it. So this photo was captured off of a trail cam. This might be the most clearest face photo that I've ever seen. This thing looks real as hell. So let's go ahead and show it. All right, here we go.
Where's the location here?
I don't know, but it's in Celsius.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Oof. Look at that.
That, back when I was riding motorcycles, that looks like a dude I stepped on his toe in the old black horse.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to step on this guy's toe, though. That's for sure.
I bought him a beer. I think it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, look at the detail on the teeth. He's even got a broken tooth. The nose looks about right. The eye separation on top. You can actually see the pupil on the right eye. Look at that. And it's muddy or dirty. I don't know about the time. Somebody might have changed the colors on it or whatever, because it says it's 2:42 in the morning, but it's going in Celsius. I mean, it could be in Alaska, man. Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, up there where
it could be
where they have all that daylight. I don't know. I mean, this is like the weirdest thing as far as the way it looks.
That looks like my older brother's profile picture.
Yeah.
There you go, Larry. I got you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a scary looking thing, man. I don't know if because look at the head. The head looks kind of small in a sense, but the whole shape of the hair to the neck, where doesn't even have a neck. We all know that this Sasquatch don't have a neck most of the time when they're walking, right? I don't know.
Well, you can see fog. It looks like fog in the background. So this, it. Let's see, at 2:42 a.m. Yeah, this is going to have to be pretty far north. This is going to have to be towards the northern, like the Yukon territory of Alaska, or possibly up around Canada, the northern areas of Canada. You get much further, it's too cold.
Ryan says, could it be above the Arctic Circle?
No snow. I'm not seeing snow.
I'm not seeing snow. I'm seeing a lot of greenery there, but it looks like fog.
Yeah, it looks like fog in the background to me.
The background too.
Possibly a forest fire, I guess. It could be that.
I mean, if somebody in the group here or anybody knows about trees, plants, because sometimes people can see a tree and they'll know what part of the, country it came from.
It'd be nice to run across a dendrologist right about now.
Be nice, right?
Yeah, it would be, because they could actually give you the exact time of year in this picture. Yeah,
and even David Nash says, how close do you have to be face-to-face to get a clearer picture? He goes, too close, I would, I guess, And we always complain, man, it's always blurry. It's always blurry. You know what I mean? I hear it all the time. It's always blurry. Well, look, now you got a really nice, clear photo. He's literally, I'm not saying he's smiling, but he's probably kind of looking at what the heck he's looking at in front of him, like the camera, like he found it,
I think he's looking at it going, damn, they had to use a ladder to get my face shot.
Right.
Yeah, to put that on the tree.
Mm-hmm.
I got to let you know, I'm in a location, and I've actually taken you to some of these spots. If we would have went a little further down the road, we could have went to a place called Todd Lake, and that's actually a famous sighting area for Bigfoot. The doctor and his wife, I can't remember the doctor's name. It was the first 8mm Bigfoot walking across. Everybody sees it doing this as they're going across the field. That's where it was at, was Todd Lake.
Right.
That's just past the area where you showed me things that I'd never seen before with your drone.
Yeah.
You took me. I took you to a spot, and then you showed me all about it.
Yeah.
It was in our first movie, and I don't know if there's going to be other scenes in that area from there, but it was. That's Bigfoot country. This is it. I mean, the Cascadia Passage, the area I keep talking about, it goes from Mount Shasta to Mount Adams. Mount Shasta's in California. You got the Cascade Mountain Range running all the way through Oregon and then all the way up into Washington State. And that's where I live. I live right on the east side of the Cascade Mountain Range, kind of in the middle of that too, because I've got Paulina Peak on the other side of me. So I'm down inside of a valley between all of that, and we're completely, if you see behind me, these are just aspens and pines, but I live in a town called Lapine, Oregon, and we are nothing but pine trees, big pines. We got ponderosas. We've got we call them lodgepole because they're a little smaller around, and you can build cabins and stuff with this stuff. But go ahead.
So David Nash asked another question. He goes, "Is that the only picture? If so, and why?" I caught this I'm in 3 Sasquatch groups. For some reason, they don't like mixing UFOs and Sasquatch, so I can't really post too much of my stuff on there. But I get to see a lot of the good stuff that they post, and this came up on one of their feeds yesterday, as a matter of fact. So when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's like the clearest picture I've ever seen. I'm not going to say it was real, it's not, but damn, that thing looks pretty freaking close to being real, and unfortunately, this is the only thing that they have. Now, because at the very bottom you can see it, it's got the webcam. So apparently it took video of this. You can tell it's a video because look at the very bottom of the screen of the Sasquatch picture. Look at the very bottom. So you can see that line at the very bottom. It's kind of giving you that, like when you take a video of a monitor or something, you can start getting those lines go straight up and down. Well, that's basically that's what you're getting here. It's a frequency. So, and we know that this is a video. They just didn't show it. You know what I mean? So, it'll probably resurface, maybe. So we don't know if it's real or not, but I hope somebody out there kind of goes out there and investigates this a little bit more on this particular photo, and if it is part of a movie, hey, let us know. We'll give you the full credit that it was part of a movie, or if it was not real or somebody was just, kidding around out there. But this thing looks pretty darn close, man. I swear to God, it scared the hell out of me when I first saw it. You know what I mean? Now, well, Terry, let me ask you this. I know a lot of people talk about this. People with Sasquatch and aliens. Now, I saw another video where somebody saw a craft, and like maybe 2 minutes later, they saw this thing like just like this walking across the field, and there's a night vision of it. And they're saying there was a 3 lights that came down from the sky. Then all of a sudden, they see this thing walking out, something like it.
You know, I this is actually something that we've been kind of just discussing within ASDP. There's a few different people that have been bringing this up, and it does have to cross your mind because they disappear like into thin air, the Sasquatch, right, when they get away from you. Okay. I don't know if it's I'm watching rabbits chase each other in my yard. I'm in Oregon. Anyway, I continuously catch this orange type sphere, the fire in the sky type, you know, the one that looks
right,
like a campfire. Right. And it's starting to make me wonder if maybe this is how they're moving around, that they've got something, that they figured something out. You know, they come down, they do what they've got to do. They got to eat, you know, we all like steak, hence the cows and right, things like that. But there's got to be something more to these guys. The thing through the research I've done, I can see that they would be something like the original people of Easter Island or the cloud people of Peru. You know, they were tall, giant redheads. They weren't real friendly from what Captain Cook stated. Right. I think they tried to send a boat ashore and they ate them. Anyway, when that happens, you don't send more people ashore.
Yeah, so, for sure. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, this creature has been seen all over the world, man. I mean, first it was North America, Canada, you know, then it was America around, then it started getting, they've even had reports in Texas, man, northern Texas, mm-hmm, at the very panhandle, that they've seen this thing. So, and it's all over the place.
They call them Yeti, the further north you go, Sasquatch, when you get down into the lower 50 or the lower 40, 48, that is,
right.
The lower 48. You get down into all the way into Australia. They call them Yowie. They call him Yowie. They've got him. He's Mr. Abominable Snowman over there with the people over in China and all that up through there. With they've got it. They definitely have different names, but it's the same guy, the same people. They just there was one more I wanted to touch on. It was very recent. They called him the Kandahar Giant.
Kandahar, yeah, that was the
Kandahar Giant
in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Or was it Pakistan?
Pakistan. Yeah, I think I talked about it. About it.
Anyway, they called him the Kandahar Giant. He took out when the whole unit went up. First, the unit went up. Special Forces came in after because they lost the whole unit. So they sent some Special Forces guys up there, and all they find is a bunch of the clothes torn to pieces and equipment torn to pieces. And these guys are looking all over the place, and they're seeing where this whole unit had been devastated, and they didn't know what it was.
Right.
Well, the Special Forces team came up on this cave, and all of a sudden a spear came out of that cave, and right through. I don't know the gentleman's name. I'm sorry for not knowing that because I did a report on this. A spear came out and killed the guy. The damn thing come running out to retrieve its spear. As soon as it got its spear back, well, what do our Special Forces do?
Oh, yeah, they shot it full of holes.
Okay, so they took it back with them. Nobody's heard much more about it since.
It was about 15 or 20 seconds of straight fire with all different kinds of weapons that they used. So Marisol says in Florida they call it the skunk ape in Florida. So skunk ape. Because I guess it stinks real bad. I've heard it smells real bad. You know, when these things are right by. I mean, you know, I don't know if they're hygiene or whatever, but you know, it's just crazy, man. Yeah, even Ryan says, you know, I believe there was some sightings in Florida too. these things are all over. David Knight says, I live in Oklahoma, close to Boggy Creek. In the 1970s, there was a movie about Bigfoot in the event in the area of the legendary of Boggy Creek. I guess that's the name of it. So there's a lot of history behind this thing that happens with Sasquatch, and sometimes we get caught up with UFOs and things up in the sky. We forget about the things that are on the ground too. So and that's one of them. And I hate to just drop that subject, but we need to watch 2 videos, okay, guys? So let's go ahead and check out this video. And we talked about last week, Terry and I, about how UFOs cloak and how they used water and to kind of use the mist around themselves because they're made out of, what was it, Terry? Hydrogen, or what's it?
Hydrogen, yeah.
Hydrogen. So
it's a hydrogen bubble.
Right. And we're going to watch this video. It's in Spanish, but it's pretty short, but you'll get the logistics of it. Okay. Here we go.
En la tarde del 17 de febrero de 2023, en la ciudad de Quito, Ecuador, un evento singular y enigmático captó la atención de Belén, quien se encontraba conduciendo por una calle local. A las 6:11 de la tarde, mientras dirigía su mirada hacia el horizonte, fue testigo de una escena sorprendente que la dejó perpleja. A lo largo de su trayecto, divisó una nube singular que descendía gradualmente desde las alturas, llegando a una posición aproximada de 15 metros sobre el suelo. Sin embargo, lo más intrigante fue lo que ocurrió después. La nube comenzó a ascender nuevamente, revelando un patrón de rotación que la diferenciaba de las demás. A pesar de elevarse, no se desvanecía entre las nubes circundantes, en cambio, destacaba de manera prominente en el cielo. A medida que la nube continuaba su ascenso, su forma cambiaba y evolucionaba. En las imágenes y videos registrados, se percibía claramente un movimiento de rotación, y aunque su presencia se desvanecía gradualmente, seguía en ascenso persistente hasta convertirse en un...
All right. So you can pretty much tell what he was pretty much saying, that this thing was just hovering, and it stayed in shape. So it's basically what he said. It stayed in shape, and while it was tumbling, it never dissipated. It always stayed the same. Even when it went up, shot up straight up in the clouds, it even started twisting and turning kind of sideways. So I don't know if you could see it, Terry, in the video, how it looked from a distance, how it was kind of turning. It started changing shape. Like it started looking like a craft, What are your thoughts on that, man?
Esto no va a ser sueño, porque este gringo muy poquito es. Oh, win it back into it.
There you go.
That was a really good video, man. We have lots of friends down in the Mexico area and South America and Central America. I want to give a shout out to all of them. Every one of you guys. Hello. You're all ASD members and part of it. Now that was absolutely a wonderful video. It looked to me, it looked a lot like a Clovis Indian arrowhead. I don't know if you noticed that. It looked a lot like maybe this is how they came up with this idea of aerodynamics for shooting an arrow. But that, to me, that's what it looked like to me. And I really appreciate that we have people all around the world that are willing to do this at every walk of life. The things that we're seeing right now, like that, it shows you that there is a different type of craft for every whatever. I mean, I can't tell you what each race is because, right. We have to actually meet these things at some point here. We're going to find somebody who can become an ambassador, an right. actual ambassador, and we will be able to put that signal out. I don't recommend to be any type of military person, and especially now, not a politician. Right. And let's go one step further. It shouldn't be a religious figure either. This should be somebody that the people come together and say, this is the person we want to represent us for this conversation. And right. I'm not that guy because I still have to be doctrinated in on what these things even look like. Right. I hear it can be pretty dangerous just looking at one of these things if you're not ready to see them, depending on which race they are or what type of alien they are.
Marisol says it looks like a biological cloud, and then because it's keeping its shape, right? Like it's alive, right?
Right.
And it's got some kind of thickness to it too. Jody Brown says I have seen one similar to that on the ground, and it appears to look just like a cloud, right? Michael Beavers is on today. He's watching. Thank you, sir. He's sharing the
Oregon,
podcast.
Man.
Yes, sir.
That's more Oregon right there.
Right. And I always talk about, how these things are always in the clouds and how a lot of people take photos of clouds. I'm one of them. A lot of us on ASTP do it. And some people say, "Oh, that's a pretty cloud." But we're looking at something totally different, man. You know what I mean?
Put a filter to it.
Yeah, when you put a filter in, and then Ani Ball gets a hold of it, or Chris gets a hold of it, they're showing you craft just shooting all over the place on these things, and it's in the clouds, going above the clouds, below the clouds, And we're taking these photos and pictures, and not just because of the ooh ah moment, but because we're seeing something that we know is probably up there. Right. So I had to throw that video out because even though it was in Spanish, it's okay. I was able to translate just a little bit, not so much. I know Spanish, but I'm like a 50-60%er.
I usually tell him what's going on.
Yeah. Yep. So
it's because I'm Irish.
Yeah. Irish Spanish now. So we got one more video, and let's go ahead and share this video real quick, and let's talk about it real quick. So this is a very short one, all right? So here we go, and you tell me what you guys think about it, right? Here we go.
That's why you need a P1000.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Right there.
I don't know, man. It looks pretty damn good, whatever it is. What do you think about that, Terry?
Well, when you see something like that, that's first off, if you're looking up and you actually see something like that, hide behind the cloud you're under, you're going to feel kind of overwhelmed. That right to me, I'm going to say that right there was probably somebody had their camera aimed at the right spot, right time, and they probably had their shutter speed adjusted up very high to actually make it move that slow. Because even though they're that size, and that was a massive craft, don't get me wrong, that was probably the size of about 3 or 4 football fields if you're seeing it that size up around the cloud.
Yeah.
And
it was moving in real time.
Yeah. So, that was moving in real time?
That's in real time.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah.
Then anybody who was under it was able to see that.
Exactly.
If they just happened to be looking up.
I think that one was shot in Costa Rica. I think that's where that one came from.
Again, the closer you get to the equator, the more of these you're going to see. Right. Primarily because Earth's rotation is the fastest at that point. And they generally, if you look close, they're moving against Earth rotation. They're going opposite. The Earth turns one way, they go the other, and that's going to give you the speed that you need. There was another podcast recently that was talking about the same scenario, but we can break away from that podcast, and you can go directly to Dr. Albert Einstein, who actually gives a whole detailed reason why we should be moving against the equator when we travel around the world with just regular aircraft. We don't do it. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. And that actually, somehow that works out to where you're using less fuel. Yeah. But if you go yourself against the Earth equator or Earth rotation at the equator, you move, it gives you that much more. You have to be higher. What are we calling it? We call it the further away you are from the firmament, the terra firma.
Right.
The higher up you are, a few things occur. The higher up you are, the slower time moves. There's actually a clock. First off, I'm not a physicist, but I study a lot of physics. Okay.
There you go.
I will never say I'm a physicist. I'm not a doctor. I study geology. I study ancient cultures. I got a couple books on microbiology because, I want to see everything from the smallest to the biggest. So with that being said, I'm not a physicist. However, I read a lot of their work. Okay.
Right.
So there's these different things. This terra firma is the earth. You go, if you look into the book of Enoch, they talk about the higher firma, which is where it was taken to be shown all of the stuff through the book, through that time frame, and he calls it the higher firma. And then this is the lower firma where we're at, terra firma, the earth itself. So the higher firma, you could probably call it extremely large craft, or you could call it what is that blue planet the Anunnaki lived on? Nibiru.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the higher firma, or a higher firma.
Okay, so let's while we're still moving along. I know that's an exciting video too. Let's go ahead and so we had some news about 4 or 5 days ago that was an actual attack of some Peruvian village out there. They were called the Iquitu tribe out there, and they're actually civilized. They have clothes like everybody. They're not walking around with spears or anything like that. But these people got attacked by something that they said was on jetpacks, or they were walking around. They were 7 feet tall. Apparently, I heard they didn't look like people. They said they looked sort of like gremlins. And one girl got attacked. She was 15 years old. Apparently, she got a good scratch on her neck because apparently on the news it said that a couple of news organizations reported that they were trying to abduct her. They were trying to take her. So, and she was trying to get away, and they ended up scratching her neck pretty bad. So I don't know what her condition is now. I don't know if she's out of the hospital already or not. But I do know that those villagers did open fire on whatever was out there. And they said that these things were green. They said they were like the Green Goblin-like. There's a couple of photos you can, if you really kind of look at it. The one in the center is about the closest one you're going to get to how these things look like. Now look at the head. Look at the head of that thing.
Doesn't look like there's a jetpack attached to that, does there?
I don't see a jetpack. And then on the right, it's kind of blurry, but this thing was on top of one of the buildings, and was trying to take the girl. So we're still trying to break down this story. What have you heard about this, Terry?
I first off, I don't like the answer jetpacks, and it takes 3 hours to go up a river just outside of Lima, Peru, to even get to this place. They had to bring the military in. They brought the military and the police. It was military. They brought them up there, and they tried to pass it off as illegal gold mining operation. Again in Peru, an illegal gold mining operation in Peru, where they were trying to scare people away from the local village with jetpacks and slashing at them as they go by.
Right.
This was the explanation. Does that make sense to you?
That does not make any sense to me.
Okay, that was the official answer that they had, was these were illegal gold mining operation people, and they were using jetpacks to scare the local villagers and dressing up like aliens to scare everybody out of the area. Now, first off, if it's an old city like this that's that far away from everybody, why would they even bother with the people?
Exactly.
Right? They would just be passing through and become friends and have coffee and say, "Oh, we live up in the hills." Right. They would never try and draw that much attention to themselves and find themselves a way to have this hit the world news, especially while the UFO stuff's going on. Why would they do that? That doesn't make sense. So to me, it seems like the government, again, not that the U.S. government has ever covered anything up, okay? I just want to make that clear.
No, for real.
The Peruvian government, of all the places in the world, that just happens to have elongated skull, mummified bodies inside of their museum, and this exact scenario in that exact location. Keep in mind, this is where Cusco is. This is where Machu Picchu is. This is where the Nazca lines are. We're talking about a place that has pyramids. They got giant pyramids. Northern Peru, they had a place where there was a tribe called the Cloud People, and those people were identical to the ones that were on Easter Island, which were giant redheads. Okay, we're talking people that are like almost 17 foot tall, and they were killed off by the Incans. They literally were killed off by the Incans, and just after the Incans got them, guess who came along? The Spaniards.
Yep.
Took out the Incans.
So let me read to you what the India Today news source says. It said last week villagers in Peru were terrified as they claimed that 7 floating aliens. They said 8 faces and attacked them. They go, but now Peruvian law enforcement officials suspect that the villagers throughout the Palascas, whatever, were actually members of illegal gold mining. There you go, syndicate, hailing from different parts of Central and South America. It says locals had initially described the attackers as silver-colored beings with enormous heads who were impervious to the tribe's hunting weapons, right? So in other words, when they're shooting at them, nothing happened to these things, right? So according to the Kutu tribe, it says a group of indigenous people, the summer's alien siege began on July 11th. So what are we today? 13th. That was a month ago. That was a month ago.
We're a month out.
Yeah, with locals facing vicious attacks, flying 7 feet tall, mysterious beings in dark-colored hoods. It says, as a perfect report by the Daily Mail. It says the illegal miners attempted to kidnap a 15-year-old girl on July 29th. The teenagers reportedly sustained cuts to her neck and other injuries during the attempt of the kidnapping. So this is the news that they're getting out of. I mean, I've read different stories. Sense. Yeah, that one doesn't. So it's why? I mean, why would the miners try to take that little girl? You know what I mean? Right. If they're gold miners, and then they're floating above the ground. These people are shooting at them with their spears and guns. I heard gunshots in one of the videos.
I heard it was gunshots. That these things were kind of, as the gunshots were going, these things were coming in and out of dimension. Right. And they couldn't, we're saying coming in and out of dimension. It could just be the fact that they can make themselves like a transparent, and I'm gonna go scientific. Are you ready? Loosen up their molecules and let things pass through, and then go back to a solid.
Right.
Things we can't do.
Exactly.
But maybe Bigfoot can. I don't know. Maybe Bigfoot can. I don't know. It's whatever this is. It's all ancient, and I'm gonna go ahead and give the Peruvian military a great big thank you for being just like all the other governments, and saying the same thing that they would say. Maybe there was a weather balloon up above them too, and some swamp gas going on.
There you go. And Marisol says, "I think we should be investigating this a little bit more," and I think so too, because we need to find out a little bit more and exactly, because all these people that saw it. It's not just one person. And then we look at the photos. Does that look like a guy in a jetpack? With a miner or whatever? That totally looked different, brother.
There is one that we keep calling a guy with a jetpack that goes over Los Angeles and San Diego area. I mean, we could call it that if you want, because we don't have an answer to that one either.
Yeah, the blue jetpack that went across. Yeah, I remember that one. So let's go ahead and get to the main topic of tonight's podcast. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And this is going to be the very important part of this podcast because, we're going to be talking today about Mr. John Lear. And he had an interview on Coast to Coast in 2003, November 2nd, 2003, which was, they call the Lear Test, right? He gave all the information of what what was going on behind closed doors, right? Go ahead, Terry.
I want to also add that when you listen to this, think about what we just heard at the testimonial at Congress what these gentlemen had just said, everything that they had just said that they brought forth. Hannibal, back to you, man.
And let's just go ahead and watch it. So you're gonna actually just hear it. It's just gonna be his face on there. It's about 8 minutes long. All right. So you guys sit there and listen to everything that he has to say on what exactly happened in the background. Okay. And he's gonna give you his story on it, because he's asking Art Bell. He's telling him, okay, I'm gonna tell you like what they would ask you if you were gonna disclose this information, and as working for the government. So let's go ahead and play that right now. We're gonna be in the background listening to it as well. Okay, and then you guys, I'll throw out your comments as soon as it finishes, and then what you guys think about it. Okay, so if you've never heard this before, this was on November 2nd, 2003 on Coast to Coast. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
Okay, let's say the government chose me. They were going to use me as an outlet to release this information. Let's just say they did that and they took me to a briefing. Then what, John?
Okay, we whisked you to, or they whisked you to Washington, D.C. You get limoed to this building, beautiful building. You go up into this room. They say, Art, you're the guy. If you give us the go-ahead, we're going to release everything we know to the public. And if you decide to go ahead, all major networks will be provided with information on all aspects of the cover-up. No type of information will be withheld because of the deal for immunity for all participants of the cover-up provides that nothing, no artifact, no piece of information be withheld. So here's what happened, Art. And of course, this we'll use some videos and stills. Our first UFO recoveries were in the late 30s. We made a couple in the beginning of the 40s, and then came Roswell, which the public found out about. We got 2 live aliens from Roswell. One died shortly thereafter. One lived until 1956. And we found out that so far there are 18 different alien species that we know about monitoring Earth. Some are good, some are hostile, most are indifferent. We found out that we are the experiment or product, if you will, of an alien race who we never met and really don't know who they are. All we know is that the Greys are cybernetic organisms, glorified robots, if you will, who work here at the behest of their employers, monitoring us through abductions. We were never able to find out what the experiment is all about, except that we have been externally corrected about 65 times, and they, the aliens, refer to us as containers. There has been speculation that the souls our bodies contains is the reason for the experiment, but nothing has been proven or determined. Since 1938, we have lost over 200 aircraft to UFO hostilities and thousands of soldiers in all kinds of different kinds of action with aliens. Since that time, several 100,000 civilians have disappeared with no trace, and several thousand were eliminated by us because of their chance encounters with aliens, which we could ill afford to have publicized. A slightly more frightening phenomenon known as human mutilations have occurred on a regular basis and are similar to the cattle mutilations in that the humans are taken from the street, so to speak, and returned to the same area about 45 minutes to an hour later, with their rectums cored out, their genitals removed, their eyes removed from their sockets, and completely drained of blood. In all cases, it appears that the mutilation procedures occurred while the persons were still alive and conscious. One of our scientists speculated that apparently the human specimens had to be alive for the samples to be worth anything. Abductions occur on a daily basis throughout the United States to at least 10% of the population. And when we first became aware of this, we protested to the little gray being that we held in the captivity at the YY-2 facility at Los Alamos. But a deal was struck that in exchange for advanced technology from the aliens, we would allow them to abduct a very small number of persons, and we would be periodically given a list of those persons abducted. We got something less than the technology we bargained for and found that the abductions exceeded by 1,000,000-fold what we had naively agreed to. In 1954, President Eisenhower met with a representative of another alien species at Lear Test Center, which is now called Edwards Air Force Base. This alien suggested that they could help us get rid of the Greys, but Eisenhower turned down their offer because they offered no technology. At this point, it became apparent to all involved that there was no such thing as a God, at least as the public perceives God. Certainly some kind of computer recorder stores information, and an occasional miracle is displayed by the aliens to influence a religious event. So this so unnerved Eisenhower that he had "In God We Trust" put on paper money and coins and put into the Pledge of Allegiance to reaffirm the public belief in God. Shortly after this, it was determined at meetings between the U.S. and Russians that the situation was serious enough that a Cold War should be manufactured as a ruse to divert attention of the public away from UFOs and towards some other scary threat, the H-bomb. Wow. It was also decided to keep the ruse secret from any elected or appointed official within both the U.S. and Russian government, as long as it took so long to vet these officials, and the ruse was easier to manage if the top people didn't know about it. In the late 1950s, NASA was formed to compartmentalize, containerize, and sanitize information from all space platforms and vehicles. We sold NASA to the public, claiming that all information would belong to them. Actually, they got very little, and even that was highly sanitized. Our first efforts were to keep the public from learning about Venus, and that it's a similar planet to Earth, and that its population is very similar to us, but more technologically advanced. We had learned a lot from them. Starting with the Russian Venera 1 and U.S. Mariner 2, we made Venus look like a lead-melting volcanic surface spewing sulfuric acid into a pressurized atmosphere 90 times that of Earth. And was often the case, we overdid it and wondered why no one ever asked how a parachute survived a descent into 800-degree air. We set up operations in Pine Gap, Australia to preclude any prying eyes trying to figure out what we were up to. We regularly eliminated, through extreme prejudice, anybody who was part of the operation and made the least little tiny threat about disclosure or satisfaction with the operation. Any space mission that included Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, Mariner, Voyager, Clementine, and all the rest, all data initially came transmitted to Pine Gap, and then it was relayed to JPL or wherever after the sanitizing. We had a little trouble with amateur radio operators, but we figured out when they figured out how they could intercept these signals, but we managed to deal with that. When the Russian threat began to fade, we introduced Vietnam, which kept the public occupied for over 10 years. The cover-up and the personnel to run the operation began to get bigger and bigger and required more and more money. We were enforced to inflate the defense budget, which soon was not enough. Then we got into the drug business, which was still not enough. We were the ones that looted the savings and loan industry and Wall Street to boot. It is so out of control now, most people want immunity and want out. But there is so much secrecy and so many double and triple blinds in place that it is unlikely that this thing can ever be dismantled. And even if you give us the go-ahead to spill the beans to the public, it's unlikely they will get anything more than, yes, we recovered a flying saucer, and yes, there was an occupant, but that's all we're going to tell you. So go ahead and roll the tape for Mr. Bell. What you see here are the human mutilations look like. That one was a male about 27 years old. Now that film is of dead aliens being pulled from the wreckage of their craft that crashed in Linch, California in the 50s. That craft you see over there was over 250 feet in diameter and had to be buried on the spot. That site is in Utah near Dugway Proving Grounds. The object that you're looking at now is the Kecksburg Acorn, which was brought to Wright Pat in the middle 60s. There's Frank Drake trying to force information out of a being tied down to that stretcher. He was supposedly from Tau Ceti. These pictures you're looking at now are the structures on the moon. That's the tower in Sinus Medai. It's over 7 miles tall. And that thing there is what we call the Colossus of Agurum in Mare Crisium. We don't know what it does, but the machine itself is bigger than Brooklyn, New York. Now, those are videos of the domes covering the craters. You can see that some are in a very advanced state of decay. Now, these are 5-second slides of the 18 different alien species we are looking at. That one there is the most gruesome looking. The guards at one facility are carefully indoctrinated over a period of several months, being shown pictures similar to, but not exactly like the alien. Only when they have been acclimatized, so to speak, of the horrible-looking beings are they allowed to stand in security positions. Before these acclimatations were done, we had 2 guards die of a heart attack as these aliens came down the hallway unexpectedly. And this last clip is of the Kennedy assassination. You've heard of the second gunman theory. Well, this is the second camera that recorded exactly what happened. We had 4 gunmen. And the bottom line was Kennedy had to go. He insisted on releasing what little alien information we had told him about, and he was trying to withdraw troops from Vietnam, which we were using as a diversion for the public. After Kennedy, we never told any president anything. Nixon knew because he was briefed as VP in 1952. That's how he knew where to take Jackie Gleason to Homestead Air Force Base to see the alien bodies we had storage there. And that's about it.
And there you go.
That's amazing stuff right there.
Go.
He was trying to tell us something that day.
Yeah, I mean, he busted it out to the world. Basically at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Telling Art Bell of everything that was happening. Backstage.
Right.
A lot of people. I mean, it's. Tell us why it's a test, Terry.
Well, first off, he was actually asking Art Bell, what would you do? Would you, after hearing everything I've had to say after this briefing, you're the one person, and this goes to everybody, every single person that's listening right now. Think of this as you're the person that's going to give the world disclosure. You have a choice to either do it or not do it based on the information you just heard. And of course, we didn't see slides. We didn't see any of that stuff because this was a hypothesis from Mr. Lear. Okay. Right. So John Lear, when he was putting this to Mr. Art Bell, I don't want people thinking War of the Worlds here. Okay. I want you to think about, what would you do? Would it be within the world's best interest for you to give disclosure? Or would you say, I don't think we're ready for it. There's going to be too many guys with shotguns waiting at the edge of the craft. There's going to be a bunch of people that say, nah, you got to get a green card and come before you come into my country or whatever. I mean, think about that. He said 18 different, how many different religions all of a sudden would you have that weren't there before? How many different political situations would you have that weren't there before? All of a sudden, you got all of this stuff now that you got to think about, and you got to put it forward, and you got to think, now, is the world ready for this? Is the world actually ready for this? And that's what the Lear test is. Now, I want to go reiterate on something. Recently, we had a bunch of people testify under oath at Congress and a hearing, and basically they're telling us exactly what John Lear just said. He said, you're going to get a craft. You're going to say that there was a body of some kind on the craft, and that's all they're going to tell you.
Yep.
Well, we just got that. We just got exactly that from people that were doing these compartmentalized jobs. They call it a whistleblower because you actually witnessed it. You can't go up there and say, I'm a whistleblower, but I'm going to make as much crap up as I possibly can, but I'm going to do it under oath. That's not how this works. They don't see you if you're full of crap, okay? Especially with what's going on right now. We're trying to get answers. We, as ASDP, we're the citizens that in some cases we have more answers than some people that are actually in the military. But there's a lot of people in the military that if they were to come tell us what they have seen and done, we would be completely beside ourselves because there's things we just don't know. I mean, we always say this, there's not one person on this planet that's an expert on this subject.
Right.
However, we have the writing on the wall all the way back to the first fire that was lit to now. Think about the last 200 years on this, just the last 200 years on this planet. We went from everybody riding around with a horse and a carriage, all right, to now we have stealth fighters. We have, I can go down to the dollar store for $1 and get a laser for $1. Okay. We've got your phone, this computer, this stuff, all this stuff. Tesla was the one that really made things advance. He's the one that taught us how to use FM and all of this stuff, the filtered modulated. He brought us electricity that was, more of a steady flow of electricity instead of. Oh,
actually, and the Wi-Fi that's all over the world now. That
oh my God!
Yeah, I mean, people are getting it in the middle of nowhere where they never got a signal. Now they're getting a signal.
Talked about that. He talked about that mess.
And Lear, he actually he during the Vietnam War, he was working for the CIA with a cargo. So he was taking stuff back and forth. So he would know about stuff like this.
Yeah, he was Air America. CIA. This guy had the highest clearance.
Yeah, man, and he was out there doing this stuff, and then for somebody in the military like that, and then all of a sudden get into UFOs and things, that he had to have seen something, man. He had to.
Time in the air, the most pilots in their entire life.
Exactly.
Maybe 3 times more than your average pilot. Because again, what's his family name? The Lear jet family.
Lear jet.
Think about it. I mean, these guys always up above us.
Now let me talk about this real quick. We had remember when David Grush, he just gave out this information here about three weeks ago, right? The same news. This would made me angry. I don't want to even cuss, but it made me angry because the same news organization that said, "Ooh, this guy is a whistleblower for UFO. We're going to be the first ones to put him on TV." Yada blah blah blah. Right? So they get him on. He does his thing, right, in front of Congress. Mm-hmm. Right. He doesn't tell all the information. Some stuff he had to hold back and said, "I'll tell you behind closed doors, but I can't tell you here."
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Another week passes by, and then another week passes by, and then now, so they tried rubbing his face in the dirt. So here it comes. Right. They start saying, "Oh, we just found out that he was a drunk, and he had PTSD, and he used to argue with his wife." Right now. They're trying to discredit him for that, man. Okay, and I'm going to be as real as I am, because this is why some people don't like me, because I just tell it like it is, and I'm going to tell it like it is. I like to drink beer. Does that make me where you don't get anything that I'm saying? I've had arguments, in the past. Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me not being credible? I've had PTSD when I saw my sister scream to me her last words. I had that for 8 years, and it bothered me, right? Mm-hmm. But because I had that, do I look like, I'm not a credible person? That's what I'm trying to say. These people are using stupid tactics like this to rub his nose or rub his face in something that we as human beings and individuals experience on a daily thing, man. This is life, brother. This is life. This is life.
The type of thing that they do to try and muddle the fact. They'll make a smoke screen over here. We see it every day, literally every day now. You see somebody over here saying something, and you see somebody over here saying something. They're trying to out something each other, so you don't see what they're doing.
Right.
But both of them are doing something. I'll put that out there too. I don't like to put politics out there, but I'm going to tell it to you like a Native American would. I'm Cherokee, and a lot of Native Americans are going to laugh about that one, but I'm Cherokee, and I got to tell you, as I would have to say it, is you have an eagle, right? You got a left wing and you got a right wing. This is our government. They're the same friggin' bird.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Yep. All they're doing is they're covering things up that the other one's doing, and the louder one gets, the louder this one is, the more crap they're actually trying to pull off, while this one's trying to defend themselves about the louder crap. So you got this, you got louder, you got quieter, and that's what's happening. You have something like that, and it looks like they're not working together, but they're actually working together. All of them are working together.
Yeah, and there's a Spanish term for it. They I'm going to say it in English, but it's like they all cover themselves with the same blanket, right? And there's a Spanish term for it. I can't say it because I don't speak very well Spanish, but I can tell you this, that what they're trying to do to him, just discredit for everything that he was trying to say, just like Lear did, right? Did Lear get any backlash for coming out on Coast to Coast and doing that? I mean,
he did.
I'm sure he did. And these guys,
he became what they call the world's most, the largest conspiracy theorist, UFO conspiracy theorist person in the world. And by the way, they took all his files too. He had a museum's worth of this stuff in his home, and he liked to show it off. He didn't just say, I'm saying this. He practiced what he preached. He walked the walk. He
Right.
flat walked the walk.
Right.
Art Bell walked the walk. Bob Lazar walks
Yep.
the walk. These guys walk the walk. You walk the walk.
Right. And you know, that's why we wanted to show you guys tonight the Lear test, because it was important that you guys saw, if you've never heard it before and this is the first time you're hearing it, well, I'm glad you heard it on today's show, because this is what it's about, and it gives you thought of what could be out there, or who's telling the truth, or it kind of just gets you thinking a little bit more, you know, and it gets you thinking as an investigator or as a detective. Hey man, I better dig into this just a little bit more. I want to get some more answers, you know, of what we're seeing up in the skies or around us, or Sasquatch, or whatever it is, these guys had access to everything in the background that us as citizens don't. So when these guys come out and they say this stuff, they get persecuted for it, right? And you know, they take their pensions away, they do things like that. Sometimes, you know, when you get older, you know, me, I'm an older guy, an older cat, you know, and if I was to come up to that, I'm gonna tell you this, most men, when they're hitting close to 60, they're like, I don't care, you know what I mean? Just do what you're gonna do, I'm done. You know what I mean? And basically, I think this is what happened to him. He just got to that moment and just said, yeah, I don't care. Just do, you know, I'm going to say what I have to say, and I'm just going to do it. And that's what happens.
It's really strange. You know, Art Bell and John Lear, this is the strangest thing, the weirdest coincidence ever. They both died the same year.
In 2022.
Yeah. Both of them died the exact same year. Anyway, all I know is if it wasn't for them, and I guarantee you that, you know, yeah, you had some stuff tonight that was on another show from way back, but what these gentlemen were doing is called disclosure, okay? That's what they were trying to do, and in the spirit of disclosure, you got to hear their voices from the grave. These guys came out of the grave tonight, and they put on a show again that you hadn't heard in how many years now?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That was 2003, wasn't it, when that show was broadcast?
Yeah. Yep. 2003.
Okay, so here we are, like 20 years later, and we just had a discussion about two of the innovators of ufology. These guys brought it to us, and tonight we brought it back to you. And this is what we're all about. We're ASDP ufologists. We're around the world. It's about your disclosure. Okay, when you come to us, disclosure starts with your story and respect from people like me and Annabelle Caost and Donald Ledesma, and you know, we've got people all around the world for you to tell your story to. And if you tell your story to any one of our ASDP researchers, me and Donald Ledesma, we're going to hear about this, and we're going to know your name. We're going to find out exactly what your story is. And at some point, you may end up being on his show, or this show.
Exactly.
He's got a couple different shows here, and we're trying to put together ways to make. We're not trying to get rich. We're trying to get our researchers to locations. That's why when you see $5 a month to be able to hear this after hours thing, or this new show that we've got now, we sell shirts, we sell all kinds of things, but we're not making any money. That's for sure. We're just trying to pay for the website. We're trying to pay for gas. Say there's a guy over in South Carolina, Billy. Say he wants to go to some place right there in the Appalachian Mountains, and he's one of our guys, and he needs fuel money to get there. We're going to make sure he can get there and he can get back, and that's what this is about. We're trying to raise money to be able to pay for disclosure. Okay, I mean, if you go to church, you're putting a tithe in. This right here is I'm not saying this is a church. What I'm saying is this is disclosure, and we're trying to make sure the world gets to see what everyone else is saying. Or if you've already seen it and you're wanting to make sure that somebody can get to you to take that report, okay? That's what we're about. We want to be able to go there. Cameras cost money, gas, the car, to repair the car, whatever. This all costs money. every one of these people that are coming out to be an ASDP researcher to come take your report, not one person is paid. Nobody. This is a voluntary thing. This is strictly voluntary. At some point, we will try and figure out how to become a nonprofit. That way, it's easier for you to donate, and it'll make it to where we're not going to be scrutinized over what we're doing, and we're going to, because as of right now, we're a bunch of citizen ufologists that have gotten together, and we're trying to do our very best to get you the story from around the entire planet. Okay, we got people again. I said in other countries, all the way around this world, we got people in different countries, and everybody does their part. And not one person's ever been paid for this, not one.
So you can actually go to ASTP-UFO.com if you want to donate. You can donate old equipment, camera, laptop that you're not using anymore. Just clean it out, and there's a site there. You can just click on it, and it'll give you the address where to send it to. Everything is, we'll send you, like a receipt for donating, if you guys want to do that, and that'd be great. Everything helps for citizen ufologists, helps us, and it helps us help you. Okay. And that's basically what we're trying to do here. So, but Terry, thank you so much for being on the show today. We got to close out, man. I really appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next one. You got anything to say to close out?
I do. I want to make sure that everybody knows that ASDP is here for you. And, if you want straight disclosure, then Alien Strand Podcast is the way to look. I'll see you next time.
Right on. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for Terry. Thank you, guys, everybody. There was a bunch of people chiming in today on today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content, because it took a lot of time to put it together, but the disclosure was there for you guys to hear and see and everything, and for everybody to chime in. Please, if you're watching us on YouTube, click a like, subscribe. Please share this podcast if you thought it was interesting to other people that maybe might find it interesting. If you want to be a part of ASDP as well, you can go to alienstrand.com or ASTP-UFO.com. You can go there and just find us there as well. So, it's been my pleasure to be here today, and just to kind of tell you guys, thank you guys for being a part of everything that we do here, and just chiming in, because, we love each and every one of you guys for what you do, as far as citizens out there sharing our stuff on Alien Strand Disclosure Project, and being a part of the team. Because remember, there is no I in team. It's all of us working together. We're all hand in hand, man, and that's what we do as a team. So thank you guys. I appreciate each and one of you guys. You guys just have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. Have yourselves a good night.